Thank you for tuning in. You're watching Capital Jazz TV. I'm your host, Jodine Dorsey. We are on the Sweet 16 Capital Jazz SuperCruise. And kicking us off on the cruise this year, we had Step Africa, who absolutely destroyed it. And we have our founder here, Brian Williams. How are you, Brian?
I'm good. Good to see you. You're looking good as always.
Thank you. Step Africa absolutely killed it on the first day. What a great way to open up the Sweet 16.
That's a tough day too. That first day.
That first day is rough because people are coming in.
You got to muster.
Right. You got to do the muster drill. You trying to figure out your beverage package.
Right.
You know,
a
lot of things that happen.
And then you had the show at 6 o'clock. But I tell you, we love being on this cruise.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun just to get on here. And, you know, the artists had a great time. And the audience had a great time. I saw that evening.
They did. Now, for people who don't know, Step Africa is a stepping organization. How does that work? What is Step Africa?
So Step Africa is a dance company.
Okay.
Right? It's 30 years old. This year we're celebrating our 30th anniversary.
Can we do a round of applause for that real quick? 30 years.
30
You know
years.
how many dance institutions don't last for 10?
Oh my goodness. I don't know how I've done it. It's been crazy.
I don't know.
It's been wonderful. I mean, and I think we've survived because the community has gotten behind us.
Okay.
And have rallied behind us. But we're the first professional company dedicated to the art form of stepping. And what our idea was, we were trying to basically preserve and promote this art form. Okay. Created by African American fraternities and sororities that I kind of felt was not really respected as a unique American tradition. Fair. So we started to document it, preserve it, highlight it, and kind of expand the possibilities of the form.
That makes sense. That makes sense because when I went to college, I went to an HWCU. Some of you may know what that means.
That's new. Okay. Not a PWI, but an HWCU. Got you. I like that.
I pledged Zeta.
Yes.
And I didn't know about stepping until I watched, when I was young, I watched Different World. And that's when I learned about stepping and became a step master when I went to University of South Florida and just loved it. And it's such a hard art form. People just think you're just in there just clapping your hands and stepping your feet. But it's such a hard art form. Can you talk about the technique of stepping and how hard and complex that is?
Well, you know, it is its own movement technique, right? And I think that's what we've tried to do is really elevate what it takes to step well. And I think one thing that we've done in Step Africa is, you know, when we used to step, I pledged at Howard University. I'm an alpha. Shout out to the brothers.
Yeah.
I went to an HBCU, not an HWCU. But, you know, it's all good. Right, we both went to college and pledged. But when I stepped, you know, we would practice for 3 months for one 10-minute show.
Exactly.
Where Step Africa performs for 90 minutes. And one step could be 15 minutes. So the level of shape that these artists are in is kind of crazy. And we really have been charged with taking the art form and exploring its what we call unlimited artistic possibilities.
Amazing. Do you find pushback from other dance theater institutions? I think about dance, you know, I think about traditional dance. Yes, I think about traditional dance organizations. We just talked about Philadelphia not too long ago. When I think about those dance institutions, it's a lot more traditional, formal theory. And then you got Step Africa.
Yeah, and I think that's why we've been able to find so much success. You know, we've been in over 60 countries around the world. And we're now, you mentioned Dance Theater of Harlem, Alvin Ailey, the great Alvin Ailey.
Absolutely.
These are amazing institutions that have been around for 50, 70 years. And Step Africa is only 30 years old. But we're now one of the largest African-American dance companies in the world today. We have 18 full-time artists who are dedicated to doing this art every day in schools, on stages. Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's not a gig. It's full-time employment for artists. So Ailey's the biggest. Dance Theater of Harlem is next. We're probably third or fourth in terms of our size in the world.
And talking about the world, talk to me about your global presence because, again, a little girl from Miami watching Different World saying, I want to pledge I want to step, right?
Yeah.
But there's a global presence that's out there as sororities and fraternities expand, stepping expands. How have you guys been received globally?
It's been I got to tell you, we've been received incredibly well. I mean, at every stop of like the 60 countries we've been to, has been so much love. I mean, we've been in Haiti, we've been in Croatia, we've been in Vietnam, we've been all over the continent of Africa, we've been in Central South American small rural villages in Ecuador. We've taken this art form of stepping, and we really are credited with introducing stepping to the American theater. So one thing I want to tell you about is we're getting ready for our 30th anniversary.
Right.
And we're based in Washington, D.C., for all the DMV folks on the cruise. We're doing our big gala on June 4th in D.C.
Marking that down.
I'd love to
Mark
see
my
you all
calendar.
there.
Yes.
But then we're going to bring a show that I think you would love. It's called The Migration. It's about the Great Migration, when African Americans left the South for the North. And we're actually interpreting the artwork of Jacob Lawrence, his incredible migration series. And it's one of my favorite works. And we're bringing that show back for our 30th anniversary at Arena Stage in D.C. So if you've seen Step Africa, but you've never seen The Migration, you have to see this work. There's nothing like it.
June 4th.
The show actually runs June 4th through July 17th. So we're doing a 6-week run.
I have no excuse.
Zero.
We could talk another 30 minutes about Jacob Lawrence, Step Africa, the Great Migration, but our producer's looking at me like, girl, you better wrap this up. So let me ask you a few more questions. When we experienced Step Africa at the start of the cruise, the Step African team did a great production based on a stepping form in South Africa. And I was so intrigued that, I had to go in my room and go to Wikipedia and try to find all the information that I could, because I was so intrigued about this mining. So before I try to explain it, can you explain to us, A, what is the South African tradition? And B, why was that important for you to bring to an American institution like Step Africa?
All right, so two things. So Step Africa was really started to explore the connections between stepping and South African dance forms. In particular, the South African gumboot dance. So the gumboot dance is created by men who worked in the mines in South Africa, and it's a percussive dance form, much like stepping. But it's very distinct, right? Its own vibe, as you saw. Right. So Step Africa was designed to kind of explore those two art forms together. But the one thing I want to share, this is something that a lot of the Greeks, that I didn't know when I learned how to step, is that stepping is actually rooted in African American history so deep, in that it goes back to a moment in time. Because I had this question about why we use our body as an instrument here in the United States, why we chose to use the body as the drum. And we found out that the drum was taken away from African people in the Americas in 1739. So in 1739, Africans started a rebellion using the drum to call people together. They take the drum away through something called the Negro Act of 1740. And ever since then, Africans in the Americas have been, in the United States of America, began to use their body as an instrument. So all these dance forms that we love, like tap, ring shout, ham bone, stepping, come out of this moment in American history. And so we've actually did a show that highlighted that some years ago as well. It's a lot of information, I know.
I'm trying to think how we do a part 2 in my head. I'm trying to figure out how to do this master class with Brian, teaching us about the African journey through dance, because there's so much there. And it's so much. You just opened up a whole new box for people to go and investigate and discover and explore about us.
Yeah, Google that Stoner Rebellion of 1739, and then Google the Negro Act of 1740. It's a moment in African American history that too few of us know about, and it really made us who we are today.
Wow.
In a lot of ways.
Wow. Last 2 questions. I promise I'll wrap it up. Where do you see Step Africa going next?
I think for me it's about developing the next generation of artists, and not just on the stage, but artistic leadership. So I really think that answer will be in the next leader of Step Africa.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Like, I'm going to take us to some places and continue to lead for maybe 5 or 6 years. But then I'm hoping that there'll be some new voices that will emerge soon, and they're going to take us to the next 30 years. That's the goal.
That's a leader. That is a leader.
You know, I can step forever. I dang sure can't lead it forever. So I might as well pass it down while I can.
That is a
I'm not
leader.
going to hold it like this.
I love it. It ain't yours. You got to give it away. You got to give it away.
Give it to the people.
Brian, where do people go for more information about Step Africa, especially June 4th?
StepAfrica.org. That's our website.
Okay.
And you can see a new timeline we just did. It's a great resource if you love the art form of stepping. Great videos, so check it out.
All right. And just to let you know, I teased Brian about this. Step Africa is for all Greeks.
Yes.
All Greeks. So when you buy your ticket for June 4th, everyone will be represented. I promise you. Although
even
I gotta give out.
I'm not gonna talk any mess. Yes, everybody.
Thank you, Brian, so much for joining us here on the SuperCruise.
Thank you.
I absolutely adore Step Africa, and so I'm just so thrilled that you guys exist.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. My name is Jodine Dorsey. This is Brian Williams, founder of Step Africa. You are tuned in to Capital Jazz TV.